What's going on, guys? Paulie here, and if you didn't see, Respawn just tweeted out an article explaining everything that's going into matchmaking in Apex Legends. They're discussing the current system in Apex and a new system that they're implementing to hopefully make the game a lot better when it comes to skill-based matchmaking. A lot of the community have been struggling, saying, I'm constantly getting put with predators. I'm a bronze player, I'm a silver player, I'm gold. Why am I getting put with these players of super high level? But Respawn is looking to fix that, and the article they just released is actually a very, very good article. They have graphs, they've got tables, they have a lot of explaining, and it is a great article. And I do highly recommend that you guys go check that out in the comments down below. But it is lengthy. It is very lengthy and it's very in-depth. And what I'm going to try to do here is explain it in a little bit more layman's terms, see if I can kind of simplify it and really get you guys to understand what they're changing, because it looks good, guys. It looks really good. So let's hop over to the little slideshow that I made like I was in high school again, and we'll explain it to you. Okay, so this is our main page we're going to be focusing on. We've got the three main points that Respawn takes into account when doing their skill-based matchmaking. As you can see here, we have the old skill-based matchmaking system, or SBMM, and the new skill-based matchmaking system. The three main things we're going to talk about are progression, skill rating, and matching. So let's just start with the first one, that being progression. So there are a few things that go into progression, and really this part is not changing. And it's the actual player level. So if you're level 1, new account, that is one thing that goes into skill-based matchmaking. But as you can see here, it is not a driving factor. The only reason they still have this implemented is because for any game out there, you need to have a sense of progression in order to stay playing the game and feel like the game is still fun. And what they argue is that by keeping players engaged, they're going to have more players in the system, which, of course, the more players you have, the closer you are in skill level to potential players to play against, which means better matchmaking. So as you can see here, progression is staying the same. Now, they do come out with a graph and they just explain that, yes, a 0 to 99 level player here, generally speaking, has a lower skill rating, which on the y-axis here would be skill rating, than a level 600 plus. But as you can see, the distribution is not that, it's not that large. There's still a lot of people that are, as you can see here, level 600 plus that aren't, that much better than someone with a new account. And of course, they do say a low account player can be highly skilled. And like most of the people that are asking for this, a high level player can be a potato. So let's hope that's not you. But if that is you, we're trying to fix that. All right, so the second thing, which is the driving factor. This is the most important part of everything that goes around skill-based matchmaking, is your skill rating. This can also be called, MMR, which is matchmaking rating, or what they use to determine how good you are as a player. Now, the actual factors that go into this are, of course, hidden from the community, and they will never be shared with us, no matter how much we ask, because if they share what goes into their skill rating per player, people will abuse that to get into lower skilled lobbies. And although there are ways around that right now, it's for the most part unknown. But in their MMR, they go for a buckets approach, is what they call it. Basically dividing us into 4 skill ranges. Skill 1, skill 2, skill 3, and skill 4. Now say this is out of a 10 scale, it could be level 1 and 2 on their skill-based matchmaking. You could be a level 1 or 2 skill player, you're going to get put in this. You could be a level 3, 4 skill player and be put in the second bucket. You could be a level 5, 6 in the third, and so on and so forth. But as you can see, there aren't very many lobbies that are in this low skill. and there are more lobbies of the higher skill. Now, this is a very broad spectrum. You could be on their skill rating, you know, at 10, and you could be getting put with someone who's maybe a 7 that just happens to be in that bucket. Or what we'll get into later, you could be getting put with someone who's a 2 that's matching up, or lobbying up, I should say, with someone who is a 7 or 8, a good player who just happens to have a friend that's not as skilled. So that's going to be changing, but that's how it is right now. The third thing is matching. Now, this is when you hit Q, you hit ready up, and you're ready to start your game. What happens? Well, everything is going to go off the highest player's skill, or the highest skilled player's skill rating. So say you have person A who's a skill rating of 10. They're amazing at the game, and they're matched up with someone who maybe is one of their friends that is brand new to the game. That doesn't matter. That brand new player is going to get put in a lobby with people who are on the highest skill level players potential. So this, you'll see, is going to be changing. So you guys hit Q, and it looks for 60 players of similar skill, remembering that it's only going off the highest skilled players MMR. Then after it finds 60 players of similar skill, or of course, this other player getting dragged into it is one of the 60, it determines party size. It's going to try to put trios with more trios, duos with more duos, and so on. However, for the sake of time, so you're not in queue for forever, they do have to naturally put some solos with duos and match them against a trio, or they'll do a whole squad of solos against a duo or a trio, because you don't want to take forever to get into a game. That's natural. That's going to happen. But it does take party size into account. And what it does when it grabs, say, a bunch of solos, if you have 3 solos that are all similar skill and 3 solos that are all similar, but one group is a little bit higher skill than the other, it will match the higher players together and the lower players together, keeping in mind all of these players should be about on the same level. So if you take our bucket approach, if we go back to this, say you have 3 players that are 10s, they're going to put all 10s together, and then they're going to put all the 7s together, even though they're playing in the same game. And the reason they say they do this is because they want to decrease the carry factor, or the amount of added benefit of one player on the team versus another. Besides the point, because it's getting changed. Again, this is just showing that, say you have a 2 on your team and you have a 6 and a 7, you're gonna currently get put in the 7's lobby, the highest skilled players lobby. So what's new? What are they changing? Progression, like I said before, is not changing at all. However, the skill rating is getting a major change. And they're going from this buckets approach before, where there are only 4 levels that you could be put into, to a whole array of levels. And they call this a Gaussian curve, a bell curve, whatever you want to call it. Basically, you have a lot of different buckets. Think of it that way. So instead of you getting put into, say, maybe these players are all playing together and you're on a curve, versus, the potential for a 7 playing with a 10. You'll get a better chance of a 7 playing against a 7 than a 7 playing against a 10, or a 6 playing against a 10, or so forth. So this is a big change, and this should make it a lot better. Keeping in mind, wait times might be slightly longer. However, I think we'll all take a little bit longer wait time to get with a player that's more close to our skill level. And the next big thing they're changing is in the matchmaking with regards to the pre-made squads. Now, instead of going with their previous, a 2 and a 6 together and a 7 are going for a 7, they're going for a weighted average. So a true average would be something like this, where a 2, a 6, and a 7 make a 5. but the better player is, generally speaking, going to hold more weight on the team than the lower player. So instead, they're going with a weighted average, meaning, yes, you can't just queue up with someone who's low level and then just go stop that low levels lobbies or somewhere in the middle. Instead, you're playing somewhere slightly below where your skill level is as the best player, but the lower skilled level player should actually have a chance to compete. And this is where we should really see improvements. I think this is the most important part of the graphs. I think it's the most important thing they're changing, and it does seem to be working. Now, what are the overall results of everything? This is where it really matters. What have they seen since they have been rolling it out across season 15 without telling us? Well, you can see that one thing they're looking at is the win percentage. And they are saying that, yes, the better teams in a lobby, skill rating wise, should be the ones winning more. That's how the game is supposed to be played. The better players should be winning more. And that's what this is showing. 0 being the average skill of the lobby resides at a 50% chance of winning. So if you're on par with the rest of your, or on average with the rest of your lobby, you should be winning 50% of the time. And they saw that. And on the other end of the spectrum, if you're a great player and you have a great team, you should be winning more. And of course, same goes for the other end. If you're on the lower end of stuff, you shouldn't be winning as much because you're not as good as the rest of the lobby. Keeping in mind, all of these players should be relatively close to the same level. As for matchmaking, they're looking at the standard deviation of damage done within the game. Basically, this goes back to the carry part, right? You don't want one player to carry everyone else because you queued solo and now all of a sudden you're getting put with bad teammates. This magenta line represents the new skill-based matchmaking system, and these other two lines are the current system. Basically, an increase in standard deviation, meaning if you're on the top of the graph, there's a big difference between the damage done by you as the good player versus your teammate, the bad player. And the new system, as you can see when it was rolled out, looks like December 13th. The average difference in damage across your squad seems to be very similar, meaning you're getting put with players that are your skill level. If you're solo queuing in pubs, you should be getting players that are on your skill level, according to the data that they've collected thus far. But of course, all of this stuff is going to be rolling out over time, guys. There is a lot of things that are changing, and they can't roll it out overnight because, frankly, if they do, what if it flops? What if all of a sudden they break Apex Legends completely and now no one can play? That is the fear, and that is why they've been rolling this out over time and why we will continue to be developing into the new system as the days go forward. So, what are your guys' thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video if you like this kind of stuff. Consider subscribing if you're into this. And hey guys, everyone have a good day. I wish you the best and good luck out there in the Apex games.